In this session we're going to take a look at the Place Window dialog box in Bentley Architecture. I think before we get there, perhaps we should place a few walls so that we can have an actual place to put our windows into. And in this case I'm going to be using the compound wall manager here and the place of wall assembly. I've chosen a CMU with gypsum board here. I'm just going to place a run of wall, let's say 25 feet, and you can see the Atchitectural is helping me out here. I'm going vertical here and I want it 10, and then we'll do it another, I don't know, 20 feet, and we'll return it back to 10 here. You'll see there that Atchitectural is helping us, and we'll just run it along there 15 feet. So now that we have our wall assembly in place, and let's take a quick look at that. I've rendered the view here. We can always take it to hidden line, gives a better definition in this case, and you can see that I have a straight run with a couple of returns and on again. So where the Place Window dialog? Well, we come down to our task-based GUI here and look at the Windows dialog. We click on that and our Place Window dialog opens up. Three main areas to the Place Window dialog box: Preview window, Property Value Parameters window, and our display list at the bottom just below the Preview window. To give you some idea of what the preview does, there's a lot of information packed into here. We have, if we right click on it, we can see that we have 8 standard rotation views here that include, say for instance, a top view, and it dynamically, Bentley Architecture dynamically moves these around for us. Our front view, and you can see here it actually has the opening indicator, and we'll just take it back to isometric. If we right click on here again, you can see that we can actually render this window before we actually place it in a number of its basic modes. Currently we have wireframe, but we can go to filled hidden line for instance, and we get some idea of just what our window is going to be looking like. You can see the next one down is placement point. The best way to show you how this works and what it means is to simply start looking at the placement points. These, in this case, are these 3 little dots here, 2 red and 1 green, and if I move into my model here and let's zoom in here to the wall, you can see that because the green one is highlighted, I'm placing it by the center point, but I can dynamically come in and place it by its left or its right point. This is very handy for doing offsets in walls. And let's place the window. You can see as soon as I click onto or select the wall I want to place it into, it constrains it along that wall. I can now say I want that window right there, and I want it on this side. Thank you very much. And you can see that Bentley Architecture has, let's just rotate that around for you there. You can see that Bentley Architecture has placed it in the wall, it has cut the hole and placed the object into it, in this case a window. Let's come back to our, so we've seen our placement point. You can actually take them off if you're comfortable with that. Let's look at the color preview. If it's not on color preview, we can always take it down to black and white. If we take it down to wireframe, you can see what it means. So we'll go back to color preview, and we have the necessary level colors and everything that it's based upon. The third aspect we can look at is catalog representation. And the best way to see this one is actually in action. For instance, we have our window here at the moment in our left hand side, our preview. On the right hand side is our property value parameters window, and in this come all the necessary definitions of what this window is and how it will behave. I'm going to change just 2 of these aspects here, height and the width. Now you can see here that we have a number of arbitrary values. I've chosen 3 for the height, and the width I'm going to choose about 1.2. So we have a very tall but narrow window. And what I'm going to do here now is going to place this window in this wall, and you can see again in our preview, let's see if I can bring that round a little bit better, there we go, that we have our windows showing at their various heights, depths, sill heights, etc. Perforators, or the openings, have been cut for us, and the window has been placed. Now if I was to go back to my Place Window dialog box and click on Catalog Representation, that window now is at 3 and 1.2. This is what the manufacturer specified it as. This is what our data set requires it to be at. This means that if I come into here and change it to something ridiculous like 914 to 1066, you'll notice that our preview does not display anything different. It just displays the catalog representation of the window, nothing more. But in our drawing, it can do. So let's take this back to something that's more suitable. And there we have our window. The area below the property value parameters set of the window itself are other values that you can actually set into your project data set or across your company as a whole. These can include, as default, frame material, manufacturer, notes, finish material, model number. They can also include aspects such as cost, delivery schedule times, and any other value that you may require. The third area to look at is our display list. This is located just under the preview window. And if you click on this, you get a jump box that drops down with all the windows that are currently available to you. These can be either part of a data set or they can be just a giant pooling of windows. As you can see, Bentley Architecture comes delivered with quite a range of industry standard windows, and if we click on any of these, you'll see just how they change. And in fact, if we hold down on the display list and start clicking through, you'll be able to see the variety of windows as we scroll through them dynamically. And that is Place Window. Now that we've placed our windows, there may become a time where we may have to go in and revise or change or modify some of the aspects of that window. That can include any of the parameters that the window is governed by: height, width, glazing, finish, material, costing, delivery schedule times, anything you need. How do we do that? Do we have to replace the window, or can we actually use some tools in Bentley Architecture to help us with that? Well, we can actually do that. There are a number of ways of approaching this. The first is that we come down to our Place Window tool on our task-based GUI on the left-hand side here, and I select the arrow, and you can see that Modify Window is now an option. I can click on that window, and Modify Window dialog box opens up, and in it is a preview of the window. Below that is the display list telling us what type of window it is. On the right hand side, under the property value parameters fields, is a new column called Active. If any of the values have check marks against them in the active column, this means that these can be altered. In which case, we're going to go to our height of our window, and we're going to extend it up to 3. And we'll go to our sill, and we'll drop it down from 1, let's say, to 0.5. Like that. And our width, we're going to reduce it down to 1.5. And now, when we want to actually impose or implement those values that we've changed onto our window, it's a matter now just clicking in our file, and you'll notice how our window has changed. The perforators are still there, the object is still valid inside the wall, and that is simply Modify Window. The other way of selecting it, or the other way of approaching Modify Window, is that we can pass our cursor over any of the views that we're in, and if we just zoom in here a little tighter, you'll see that no matter what view we're in, it highlights in other views to give us an idea. We can use our right button on a mouse, right press and hold it, and you'll notice that we have Modify Window. So if I can adjust this, I'll adjust it back to 1.82, and I'll now click, and our window has changed. If we rotate that a little bit, you can see that our window has actually changed. That isn't the only way of actually modifying a window. We can also, for ease of use and for speed, we can simply just hover our mouse over the window. Of course, the tooltip flies out, giving us an idea of just what is the window, what level of width and height, etc. And we can now just simply, with our left mouse button, just double click on it. That will open up the Modify Window dialog box, and we can then proceed as we have done in the past two instances.